As you drive around the Midlands, look at the roofs of the houses, you will see far more solar panels than would have been the case this time last year. One of the men who's installed quite a few of them is Gary Martin from OCM Energy. He too will be at the Green Home and Energy Show in just a few weeks' time in Tullamore. Morning.
Morning, Will. Thanks for having me.
Now, that's anecdotally, just looking around. You've some stats as to how much solar has taken off. No doubt, cost of living driving it.
Yes, solar seems to be the way to go. Currently, we have 60,000 homes in Ireland that have solar PV installed. And under the government's climate action plan, the goal is to have 8 gigawatts of solar completed by 2030. That's 8 billion watts of solar. So if you take your average home, they roughly have 5,000 watts on their house. So we're trying to get to 8 billion watts by 2030.
That may be the ambition, but they've cut the grant. What's that about?
Yes, unfortunately, the grant has been cut. The maximum grant you could get for solar was 2,400. It has now been reduced to 2,100 for domestic homeowners, unfortunately.
Now, here's the question that is, how long is a piece of string? Pricing for a typical house, can you at least give us a range, what the variables are?
Yeah, so again, this is a question we often get asked. It's very hard to just give a single price for a house. They all vary. So solar prices can be anywhere from 8,000 to 15,000 pre-grant, depending on a number of factors like the size of the system, the brand you're going to use, whether batteries are required, and so on. But as I said, there is grants, and a few of the grant prices then. So for a 2 kilowatt system, we roughly 5 panels on the roof, you get a grant of €1,600. A 3 kilowatt system, which would be 8 panels, you get a grant of €1,850. A 4 kilowatt system then, which would be roughly 10 panels, would be 2,100, and that's where it's capped at. So if you go bigger with a 5 as well, it's also 2,100. So it takes a bit of a sting out of the bill.
But in figuring out how many panels you need, that's looking back at your bills and your historic usage. Yeah.
That's the most vital part. You have to go back. Every house is different. You know, whether batteries are required. Batteries isn't required if you're in the house using during the day. You don't need a battery. If you're in work 9 to 5, that you want a battery to store it, so when you come home in the evening hours, that you can use that energy.
Let's call it 10 grand, just to use round numbers. Return on investment. So how long until I get my 10 grand back?
Again, a very difficult question because you have so many factors. But anywhere in the region of 5 to 10 years for domestic, but it's completely dependent on the size of the system, as well the current rate of electricity you're paying. Obviously, the more electricity you're paying, the more expensive it is, the quicker the return on investment is. We see prices now in the market starting to come down, so that return on investment will take longer, unfortunately. But businesses, however, can expect a lot quicker return because the price is fairly stable for business on energies. You know, so we've seen some businesses full return on investment over 3 years, fully paid for.
And what grants or supports are available for business?
Business grants then range from 2,700 up to 162,600 is the max cap. So
again, depending on the size of the system,
depending, obviously, the bigger the system, the bigger the grant.
I think you get accelerated capital allowances as well.
Correct.
Ask your accountant about that.
Yeah.
Schools, because again, energy bills have been crippling for schools. They avail of special grants.
Yes, only recently the Minister of Education rolled out the school grant. So schools are currently in the process of getting 100% funding for a 6 kilowatt system, which is roughly 14 panels on the roof. The objective of the schools program is for every school to eventually have solar fitted throughout the country. And during the summer months then when the schools are closed, the surplus solar will be sent back into the grid. So that's a great initiative. They've rolled it out in certain phases. So lucky enough, phase 1, Offaly is on the list. So all the schools are currently now putting in their tenders, going ahead.
Batteries or no batteries?
Again, batteries is the $1 million question. There's so much technology coming to the market. Batteries are getting cheaper. But again, if you need them or don't need them, if you're in the house during the day, I would suggest no. If you're not in the house during the day, yes, you need to be storing somewhere. There's pros and cons. It's all about cost effective. You know, if you can afford a battery, great. You know, but if you can't and you're constantly looking at return on investment, batteries can be the game changer. Like a 5 kilowatt battery could be €3,000 for a Huawei battery, you know, which is expensive. So the return on investment alone for that.
And the other variable is how much you get paid by your supplier to sell back to the grid.
Correct.
And you're doing a maths exercise. Hang on, if I'm buying cheaper units at night, for instance, and some of them offer this EV charging scheme, it really involves getting the calculator out, and it's not one size fits all.
No, are you better off storing it and using yourself, or are you better off selling it to the grid and getting the money for it?
So now,
the way up them.
If you meet Gary at OCM Energy stand at the Green Home and Energy Show, you can get around this grant reduction because you've decided to introduce a special offer.
Yes. So what we're going to do for anyone that visits our stand at the show, the Green Energy Show, we are going to give you a €300 voucher towards your solar system, which would bring your grant back up to the maximum, which is 2,400. So just visit our stand, pop in, let us know where you're from, and we will give you a voucher for €300.
Excellent. And in the meantime, if you want to talk to Gary or any of the team, how can you be found?
You can find us on all our social medias. We have LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and our website, www.ocmenergy.ie.
Excellent. Gary Martin, thank you.
That's great. Well, thank you.